Hey guys, and thank you for joining me. Let's talk about Guillermo Del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities on Netflix now. Thanks for joining me again, guys. Today I want to talk about Guillermo Del Toro's new project. It's a little anthology series that's going on Netflix right now. Today I specifically want to talk about episodes 1 and 2. I'm going to go ahead and leave my thoughts on episodes 3 and 4 for a later video, and I think I'm going to go ahead and continue to do this on a 2-episode basis per review. Now, this anthology has a bunch of short little stories written by Guillermo Del Toro, which from my understanding were handed out to different writers and producers, directors, to create episodes and to create these short presentations out of. Just from the first 2 episodes, I'm already thrown away. Actually, wink wink, I already watched the 3rd episode today with my wife, and it was awesome. It's the 3rd episode so far, guys, which I'm not going to speak about in this video at all, but the 3rd episode is the best one so far. So one of my first questions when listening to the name of this show, Cabinet of Curiosities, was, are these things real? And it turns out these things are actually real. There are cabinets of curiosity that exist in our real world today, and these things are dating back to the 1500s. Talk about an interesting collection, right? The first episode of Guillermo del Toro's anthology is actually called Lot 36 and brought to you by Guillermo Navarro. The premise of this episode is, in 1991, veteran Nick Appleton is down on his luck and owing a lot of money. In his search of paying his debts back, Mr. Appleton buys these storage units, kind of like on Storage Wars. While going on these storage missions and trying to buy these storages, he lands on an auction where he buys a Lot 36. This Lot 36, he ended up landing for a low amount of $400 compared to what he actually ended up finding inside of the amount that he could make off of it. Now, Lot 36 is being auctioned off after the original owner passed away of old age. We'll see in a clip that the owner actually had a heart attack at one point, passes away, and that's what makes this lot available for auction. Immediately, once granted access to the unit, he realizes he has some very, very, very valuable occult items inside of it. Immediately, obviously, the light bulb lit up in his head. It's time to try to find a buyer for these things. Now, to give you a little bit of background about the owner of this Lot 36, he was an old man. Early in the episode, again, as I mentioned a little bit ago, you see him butchering some meat. While butchering this meat, unfortunately, this old man has a heart attack. Going back to Mr. Appleton. Now, Mr. Appleton isn't a nice guy. As a matter of fact, there's a great character in this show called Eddie. Eddie's actually the storage manager for the storage units. There's a lady that comes up to him at some point in the episode and expresses that she's here to pay off her debt to get her storage unit back. Eddie hadn't received any information on this, so he auctioned off the unit, and guess who won that lady's unit? Yep, you're right, that's Mr. Nick Appleton. Eddie tells this lady, hey, Mr. Appleton is right outside, go have a conversation with him, let him know what's going on, and maybe you can get some of your items back, and I'm so sorry. In that instance alone, I ended up really liking the Eddie character. It showed that there was somebody humble in this episode already, somebody who was out there to help the little person, and to me personally, that's always something I like to see in any type of show or any type of content. Somebody with a big warm heart, even in the scariest of situations. Nick, not being a nice man, after meeting this lady outside, after she approaches him trying to ask for some of her stuff back, mainly just pictures and family heirlooms, says it's just simply not his problem. It's just not his problem, and that's the way the game works. Little does he know that being such a mean person, what goes around comes around. So that's about as much of the So that's about as much of the story as I want to give you guys, and as much of plot as I want to give you guys. My overall thoughts on the episode was that this was a very, very good introductory episode for this anthology series. Guillermo Del Toro, as always, came up with a brilliant idea. I mean, this is a man that gave us Hellboy. Overall, this episode was super creepy. It gave the right vibes off. My only complaint about the episode, and it's a very, very silly complaint, guys, and remember, opinions are just opinions, but I thought that the character Nick Appleton was a little bit over politicized in the episode, and they did make some justifications for him in the episode. There were some beautiful lines that he gave back to Mr. Eddie at one point, and if you watch the episode, you're gonna know what I'm saying. That just kind of validated him just a tiny bit. However, his character was over politicized, and I don't think we need politics in our content in order to prove that somebody's just not a good person. Other than that, again, the series came in with a very, very powerful first episode, and Lot 36 is definitely something that's worth investing those 47 minutes to watch. Moving on to episode 2, Cemetery Rats. Doesn't that sound creepy? Cemetery rats? I mean, rats overall. Dead things, rats. Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of that one. Pretty creepy. Graveyard Rats was directed by Vincenzo Natali. So I'm gonna give you guys a quick overall plot synopsis for this episode. In Salem, Massachusetts, graveyard caretaker Mason catches 2 grave robbers stealing from a corpse. He holds them at gunpoint and asks them to leave. The moment that he intimidates them and they do leave, you see Mr. Mason just pop his little head around, go right back into that same grave and start stealing. Upon going back into that grave, he ends up finding a gold tooth, and it turns out that Mr. Mason is a grave robber himself. Something that goes reoccurring with episode 1 here is that Mr. Mason actually has debts that he has to pay off. It seemed in this second episode to be a reoccurring theme. The cool thing is that it turned out that Mr. Mason was a little rascal in his own rights. Episode 2 goes on to show Mr. Mason after that scene where he goes ahead and does his tricky little business to make some money. We see him go back to a morgue, and in this morgue he meets up with some sort of mortician that works there, where he just starts digging around and trying to work out a deal with this mortician, trying to find, gold teeth or something of value to pay off some sort of debt that he has. While digging through the morgue, Mason actually finds the body of a rich man. This rich man is equipped full of gold teeth. He had quite a few gold teeth in his mouth. And let's just say he had some very other great valuables, to not spoil this for you. Mason goes to meet up with a gentleman, which he goes drop off some of the material he was able to find to pay off with, where this gentleman is not the nicest of people. The gentleman expresses to Mason that his debt has to be paid, and paid immediately within a week. This sets our main character off on a journey of his own to go try to find those valuables in other bodies. On that mission alone, he decides that he's gonna go back to that gentleman that he had found in the morgue, which had all those gold teeth. The other gentleman that was at the morgue had actually informed him that, hey, listen buddy, wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow's your day. We see Mason go off on his own journey trying to recover parts after this, and I think that that's as far as I want to go on plot point. We're dealing with grave robbers here, and Mason is a grave robber. On the main evening of the episode, he goes to try to find some loot. He goes to dig that body up. He ends up finding a little undercover cave system that has been built out. So you guys must be asking yourself, the episode is called Cemetery Rats, Boris. You've mentioned cemetery rats. Well, let's just say this. The rats are something I'm not going to talk to you guys about. I really want you guys to watch this episode. Again, this is another story out of the mind of Guillermo Del Toro that just went to another level, and I think it deserves you to go watch. This episode was kind of powerful on its own. I can honestly say I honestly felt it was better than the first episode. And if you remember earlier in our video today, I told you guys, the third episode, wow. One of the things I immediately liked about episode 2 was that it was graveyard themed. I mean, seriously, what's creepier than a graveyard? I'm sure you guys can figure something out. Tell me in the comments below what you think is creepier than a graveyard. To some people, rats are their biggest nightmare, and rats really just creep them out. I'm personally not one of those people. I think rats are cute. I find rodents cute. I find rabbits cute. I find cats cute. And I find any animal that has fur pretty cute. While on his journey, Masson takes some very strong paranormal turns in this episode. Things that we like to see in our horror stuff for the most part. So guys, simply put, I just thought episode 2 was a banger. Go ahead and check it out too. These first 2 episodes were extremely powerful for this series. It's just a spooky season. It's the right time for this kind of content. A lot of us nowadays are just so picky with what we want, and we feel in our own minds that we know exactly what we want to see in a movie, and we get extremely picky, or what we want to see in a TV show and we get extremely picky. But this is very well thought out. And honestly, it's just something very fun to watch. Another thing that I became a sucker for in this show was the intro. It has kind of this Game of Thrones vibe, but instead of showing us all those kinds of visuals where we see, the Red Keep and all the, realms of Westeros or Westeros, whatever it's called. I can't remember right now. I'm sorry. But the intro shows us a bunch of spooky things and creepy skulls and skeletons, and the music is very much themed in that same classical stringed instrument way, and it sounds really cool. So guys, if I'm reviewing it, usually it's going to be because I highly recommend it. If I'm going to go ahead and spend the time to make a video for you guys, if the content isn't that great, normally I'm not going to do this. I did that with Halloween Kills because Halloween Kills was just something we were all looking forward to, or the majority of us were just really looking forward to. But for me personally, Halloween Kills just came in a little bit short. But this series right here, guys, this is a fun watch. Thank you so much for joining me for another video, guys. If you're a friend of this channel, I want you to do me a big favor and hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to rack up some subscribers. We have a giveaway that we're working on right now that we're going to be giving away once we get to 500 subscribers. Right now, that's a really big ask, but with your help, I really think we can do that. So take one quick second and hit the subscribe button down below. Thank you guys so much for joining me again, to listening to me just rambling on in another video about my thoughts about something that I enjoyed watching. As I keep on putting my content together, I promise that, this kind of content for me that I'm trying to put together for you guys is only going to get better. Thank you for showing love. Thank you for being a friend of the channel. And remember, always look up. You guys take care.